Well, it's been one long year, and I once again get to rank some of my favorite figures of 2023. It's been a year that's had many ups and downs, and overall, in my eyes, it was a pretty okay year for Hasbro, with signs of a brighter future ahead. So, before I begin, let's establish a couple ground rules. First, this is my list. I get that you might disagree with me, and that's totally fine, but this is a list of my own design. I am by no means an authority on Marvel Legends, and some figures may or may not be on this list simply because it does one thing that I like more than another. Second, there are many figures I simply didn't get my hands on due to just never appearing in my stores, or I just happened to miss it before somebody else got to the figure. With that being said, just because I didn't personally own the figure doesn't mean it won't appear on the list. I will do my best to keep them on the honorable mentions though, but I guess that's really up to my discretion. Speaking of honorable mentions, let's get started. Number 7. The Blob. The first figure I wanted to put on my honorable mention list is a figure I never got a chance to get, and that is the Blob. I love the X-Men. I grew up on X-Men Evolution as a child, and I would go to the library every week and get a stack of all the X-Men comics I could read. And while Blob wasn't the most prominent character in those comics, he's always been a favorite villain of mine. Actually, now that I think about it, he really became a favorite when I first fought him in the opening level of X-Men Legends. Following his foot trails through the streets of New York is something that is ingrained in my brain, and something I'll never forget. Now, why is he on the list? Well, it's just a really great representation of the character. It's big, it's beautiful, it's ugly, it's gross. It's everything you'd want in a figure. It's just been done before. We've already seen this exact figure before, and this release really didn't do anything other than maybe make Blob look better.
So you think I'm skinny? Let me have my moment. Let me have my moment. Let me have my moment. Thank you.
Number 6. Ronan the Accuser. This figure looks absolutely stunning. Ronan was a character I was first introduced to during the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, alongside all the other Guardians and basically every other character in that movie besides the Nova Corps. And while his portrayal wasn't the most exciting thing in that movie, it did manage to put the character on my radar, and when we received a bunch of the more retro cosmic characters, I was blown away by how cool Ronan looked. The imposing and sinister silhouette the figure gives off is stunning on its own, and once you add the hammer to the mix, it really makes for an exciting addition to any collection. Unfortunately, he never showed up at my local stores, and since he's a character I don't know much about, I couldn't really justify putting him any higher. Number 5. Kraven the Hunter. This is a figure I was desperate to get my hands on. I'm a huge Spidey fan, and my goal is ultimately to get every one of his iconic villains in my collection. While I have a decent start, there are some major omissions, Kraven being one of them. Kraven has always been one of Spidey's most exciting and interesting villains, and after an amazing run as the main villain in PlayStation Spider-Man 2, my need for Kraven couldn't be any higher. And yet again, he never showed up. And the reason he isn't any higher is simply that awful head sculpt. Seriously, everything else about this figure is perfect, and then they had to give him this head sculpt. That damned head sculpt. Number 4. Blade. I don't know. Maybe this will make me lose a lot of credibility within the fandom, but I've never seen the Blade movies. I own them, I plan to watch them, and I'm very aware of the memes.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
But I just haven't gotten around to watching them. But that hasn't stopped me from becoming a huge fan of Blade whenever he appears in any of the media I've interacted with as a child. I remember him showing up in Ultimate Alliance and thinking he was so cool. And more recently, he's one of the more interesting characters in Midnight Suns. So despite not owning him, I just had to have him on the list. It's just a wonderful looking figure with a beautiful looking sculpt. And it really came down to what I thought looked better between this and Kraven. Number 3. Yondu. This is the first figure I actually own, and it is awesome. It's such a bright and colorful character that really wonderfully embodies that era the figure is based on. And like I mentioned earlier, I never knew this character before Guardians of the Galaxy, and instantly fell in love with him. Michael Rooker did an absolutely fantastic job adapting the character for modern times, and this figure is such a cool window to the past. But there are many issues I have with it. Despite looking really nice, it has pins, and sometimes the paintwork can look a little cheap. It also feels a little gummy in hand, and I think Hasbro may have used that cheaper plastic for the figure. Number 2, Rogue. This figure is pure X-Men 97. This is as perfect of an adaptation as you can get with the Marvel Legends line. It's a genuinely great looking figure that I am incredibly bummed I couldn't find in time to add to my collection. It's also not the Rogue I grew up with, and maybe one day we can get that version of Rogue in toy form. And finishing off my honorable mentions list at number 1, Dr. Octavius. Finally, the last figure I can put on the honorable mentions list. Listen, if you've seen this channel for a second, you know how much I love Spider-Man, and more specifically how much I love Spider-Man 2. Dr. Otto Octavius was a transformative villain for me as a child, and Alfred Molina's portrayal really cemented the character as an all-timer for me. I still think about this behind-the-scenes moment almost every month.
If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy biddy bum. If I were a wealthy man, oi!
Unfortunately, he never showed up in my stores. I still have hope and I'm looking every day for him, but until I have him in my hands, I can't justify putting him any higher on the list. Well, who else has an honorable mentions list almost as long as the actual list? So, with those out of the way, let's get to the main event. Number 10, Grey Hulk and Bruce Banner 2-pack. Immediately, I feel the need to defend myself, mostly because I know this isn't the best Hulk we've ever gotten. Hell, this isn't even the first time we've seen this Hulk. But this is the first Hulk I've had that isn't that red and green one split down the middle. And on top of that, it comes with a really decent Bruce Banner to kind of sweeten the pot for those who already had a Hulk in their collection. And that's more than enough for me to put it at number 10. Number 9, Deadpool and Hydra Blob 2-pack. Listen, Deadpool is one of the characters I remember getting me into reading comics outside of Spider-Man and Batman. It was one of the characters that always made me laugh and was a genuine pleasure to read. And for a 10-year-old little boy, what more did you need than that? So, when I saw they were finally releasing a new Deadpool figure, I knew I needed to have it in my collection, and I wasn't disappointed. Yes, we've seen this figure before, and arguably it's been done better, but this is still a really fun figure with a metric shit ton of accessories and an extra figure on top of that. There's just too much to like with this set, but enough to hold it from going any further. Number 8, Daredevil. I think it's more than fair to give this spot to two characters with the same name, mostly because while both would be good enough on their own, together they're even more badass. Elektra Daredevil and, well, regular Daredevil are both so cool together and really add to any scene they're standing in. I don't even know if their two stories take place alongside each other, but I know in my collection, they're BFFs. Number 7, Cyclops. This is a figure I didn't expect to like as much as I did. I've never been much of a Cyclops fan and really always saw him as the annoying guy Wolverine would punch in the face from time to time, but as I've gotten older, I've come to the understanding of who he is as a character and I've become much more appreciative of him overall. And when I saw this figure announced, it brought me back to when I first got into X-Men comics and read Astonishing X-Men and really became a fan. And there's something about owning a toy version of that feeling that's really special. Number 6, Hawkeye. This figure is one or two solid improvements away from taking the top spot this year. There's just a few minor nitpicks that really hold it back. Not having butterfly joints, a lack of accessories, all relatively minor things, but enough to hold back what was truly one of my favorite figures of the year. Number 5, Iron Man. This figure absolutely shocked me. I waited as long as I possibly could to get this figure, and even then I wasn't sure if I wanted to get it, but when I opened it up and started posing it, oh, I was blown away. Not only is it beautiful, but it articulates wonderfully and it adds to any collection. Number 4, Wolverine. This was almost the number 1 for a few reasons, but I decided it would make more sense to put Wolverine in the number 4 spot. The most obvious reason is it's simply not the best figure of the year. Compared to the next three, I don't think it offers as much value as the others. For some reason, the retro card curse lives on, and Wolverine has next to zero accessories. He has more than the average retro card figures, but still not enough. Plus, next year being the anniversary for Wolverine, I'm pretty sure we'll see plenty more Wolverine figures that'll make the top 10 list, and based on what I've already seen, possibly might even take the number 1 spot. Number 3, Captain America. This Captain America is the quintessential Captain America for me. I literally never need another Captain America figure because this is exactly what I wanted in every way possible. The boots, the shields, the scales, every aspect of this figure is amazing. Number 2, Black Widow. This was really hard. This is quite simply the best female figure that's ever been made. The amount of accessories, the articulation, the head sculpts blow basically every other figure out of the water except for maybe Deadpool. And that was in a 2-pack. Number 1, Green Goblin. Well, I told you guys I was a huge Spider-Man fan. It feels a bit unfair to give the figure of the year to 2 Spider-Man related figures in a row, but it's such a great figure. It's everything I've ever wanted in a Green Goblin figure, and it went the extra mile introducing the drop-down hips. I mean, the glider alone is enough to be nominated. Look, I'm sorry, I know this is wrong, I know you don't agree with me. I can't help it, I have a sickness, alright? Leave me alone. Alright, that is it. That is my top 10 list. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did you like it? Do you agree with it at all? Are any of my figures on your list or any of your figures on my list? I'd like to know that. But also, while I have you here, I just wanted to say thank you guys so very much for watching me for this year. This has been a very exciting year for me on this channel. There's been growth. I can't say there's been a lot of growth, but there's been enough growth to make this whole thing worth it. It's just been so fun every day watching the channel just improve, watching me as a video maker improve, and that's really the goal. The whole point of this channel was to improve at making videos, so mission accomplished there. But it's been fun. It's been so rewarding doing this whole experience with you guys. So I truly do appreciate those of you watching. Those of you who don't watch, I still appreciate you because why not, you know? And I can't wait to do it again. This has been technically the second year of doing this channel. Technically, I guess. The first year was really more of a soft launch, and then the past year was where it was a lot more serious. But yeah, it's been super fun, guys. So thank you so much for watching. And I can't wait to do it some more. And again, I don't know if you saw my community post tab, whatever. But I've been super sick the past week. That's why there hasn't been any uploads. And that's probably why this recording sounds a little wonky, a little weird. I probably sound a little sick or a little tired or drained. But it's worth it. It's worth it to make this video and get it out for you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will be back with another video, hopefully very, very soon. Bye.